Good morning and welcome to this edition of the Lynn Hayes Freeland Show. We have so much to do. I am very excited about everything we're going to do on the show. A little bit later in the program, a new exhibit at the Carnegie Museum, Teenie Harris. Some photos you probably have never seen before. Also coming up, a story called I Can and I Will. You may not know what that means, but you'll be glad you tuned in this morning to learn about that story. But we begin with another story that's actually kind of set around the Hill District in the city of Pittsburgh. It's kind of set around the life of the legend, Lena Horne. The book is entitled The Blues Walked In. The author is Kathleen George. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
So I say that The Blues Walked In is kind of set around the Hill District and around the life of Lena Horne, but it's not biographical.
That's right. It's fiction. I made up a bunch of stuff, but I did read everything about Lena Horne I could read. I saw everything I could see. And I managed to, with key moments in her life during those years, I kept those things accurate.
And it's interesting because I still think that a lot of people don't know that Lena Horne had connections to Pittsburgh and the Hill District in particular.
I know. You know, I was listening to her CD of The Lady and Her Music, and I'd listened to it many, many times, and I always heard her say, and then I had this one stop, quite a stop. I went to Pittsburgh and I had a couple of kids. And then one day I was listening to it and I said, whoa, why don't I find out about that? You know, that's really interesting. And so I learned that she had a father who had a hotel in the Hill District and that she came for some time and had 2 kids. And that gave me the idea for a novel because I also knew that a lot of Arabic American people lived in the Hill District too. And I got this idea that, I mean, Lena Horne kind of reminded me of my mother. And I thought, what if, just what if these 2 people were growing up in the same neighborhood, and to some people who weren't looking very hard, they kind of looked alike, you know? What would happen? And then a whole plot came out of that.
So her friend, Maria, is it Maria?
Marie.
So Marie is not a real character. I mean, she's a real character in the book.
In the book.
Okay, all right. Oh, interesting, because as you read the book, you really, I mean, from the first moment when she's walking up the hill with luggage, you are kind of just dropped down into this time period and this place.
I hope I made it believable. That's good to hear. Yeah, all the little details like that I got from listening to her voice, reading her own autobiography, reading the biography of her by James Gavin, which was really good, and also her daughter's works, who told me a lot. And then hearing her voice on that CD, I felt like, boy, I'm getting close. I feel like I know how she was, you know? So, so those details really, really helped me a lot.
And one of the things you said to me before we started to tape was that there were things that Lena Horne would comment from on stage that reflected what was going on internally with her sometimes.
Yeah, I think that a lot of her power was in anger and in finding her own anger. And that's why when I had to figure out, I knew that Paul Robeson was always after her. He was always saying, you've got to become an activist, you've got to do something, you know? And she had a little hesitation because she was trying to make a career, she was gorgeous, you know, and she was afraid to rock the boat.
Right.
But he was pushing her, and so I had to decide what he said to her, and I said, okay, I hear him. I hear his rumbling voice, and he's saying, you gotta have anger. I have anger, and I have lust for all the good things in life. And do you have that? And she did, of course, have that, but she wasn't sure at the moment that she did.
So what was interesting to me about the book, and as you said, you kind of took these parts of her life and built around them and created this novel, but it seems so real to me.
Oh, good.
And I had to keep saying, this is a novel.
Yeah, I know. It's a very odd beast when you take a real character, a real life, and you blend it with fiction. A couple of writers are doing that these days, and it's sort of fun and also maddening.
So what do you want, what's the takeaway at the end when you turn the last page of the book and you close the book? How do you as the author want me, the reader, to reflect and feel?
A lot as Marie does when she has been swacked by Lena, but also envious all her life, and she thinks, man, that woman had it easy. And she suddenly realizes, wow, no, she did not have it easy. You know, there were depths that we could never know about because she had so much spirit and so much natural joy that she was out there performing, charming people, and yet, when you think of what she went through, all through her life, it was quite amazing.
Absolutely.
From being not allowed to go into certain places where the band was playing because she had to stay in the bus, you know, to having her songs cut out of the movies in the South. And the one story I had to use that was real was the USO tour when she went to Little Rock, Arkansas. That was so powerful. I thought that has to go in the book.
Well, and then that, to kind of bring this full circle, goes to a lot of that anger that was welling up there that she didn't know what to do with.
She didn't know what to do with it at first.
Interesting.
She sounds very different on the CD in 1981 from how she sounded at first, with every syllable was crisp and perfect. And she was sort of trained in a very good high school. She was very smart, and you know, she sounded mid-Atlantic white at first.
Absolutely.
And not at the end. She did not sound that way.
I don't want to run out of time, but Marie and your mother, what would your mother think about Marie? Or does your mother, I don't know.
Well, my mother's gone now,
Okay.
but she would have liked Marie, but I don't know if she would have seen herself in Marie.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
they say that people don't always see when they've been models for characters. The famous story is Tennessee Williams wrote The Glass Menagerie, and his mother said, "Oh, where did you get that horrible character?" And he said, "Well, I don't know, Mom, I made it up."
Terrific. The book is called The Blues Walked In. How can we get it? How can readers get it?
Well, I'm going to be at Riverstone Books tonight. It's at bookshops around the city. Classic Lines in Squirrel Hill has it. Penguin Bookshop has it. Riverstone Books has it. I think online you can find it at Barnes & Noble and Amazon.
That's perfect. Thanks so much for joining us
Thank
today.
you so
It's
much.
good stuff, indeed.
Thank you.
And as I mentioned to you, I have roots in the Hill District, so we didn't live in the same era, but it was personal for me, indeed, yeah.
I'm glad.
Yeah, good job. We're going to take a commercial break. When we come back, we're going to reflect on the career of Teenie Harris. So don't go away when the Lynn Hayes Freeland Show continues.
The Lynn Hayes Freeland Show is sponsored by Dollar Bank, providing mortgages for mothers with less than perfect credit.
We're America's largest independent mutual bank. Without shareholders, we're able to think differently about the banking options we offer, the way we do business, the support we provide to the communities we serve. Experience the difference mutuality makes for Dollar Bank customers and our region. Dollar Bank, mutually inspired.
Here's money for pizza. Here's the Wi-Fi password. But if you go online while the boys are online, the internet can slow down, and they don't like
You guys don't have Fios?
no.
It's 100% fiber optic network with ridiculous speeds. You could have like 100 devices online at once.
Interested? Talk later.
Bye, boys.
Don't even think about going online.
Whoa. I can't work like this.
The 100% fiber optic network means more speed for more devices at once. So get a Fios Triple Play with a 2-year agreement and choose a free Samsung Chromebook 3 or credit towards other Samsung tech.
Remember your first bike? No, your first real bike. So can you imagine the feeling you'll get from your first real truck? The GMC Sierra. Step up to the GMC Sierra Elevation Edition with 20-inch wheels and V8 engine. Current GM lessees can get this low-mileage lease on this Elevation Edition for around $199 per month.
Get your chance to play catch with your favorite Pittsburgh Pirates and help raise money for cancer care. Register now at catchforcancer.org.
Some guests always want to tell you all these details. Welcome back to the Lynn Hayes Freeland Show. I am so glad that Shirley Boogie Burnett is my friend, so I can say that. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm so excited because you're here to talk about a new exhibit that just opened recently, featuring an insight into the life or a day of renowned photographer Teenie Harris.
Absolutely. It's called Teenie Harris Photographs Around the Clock. It's absolutely gorgeous because it's our opportunity to show you the kind of day, the average day that Teenie had every day, it seemed, and how he amassed 80,000 photos and more of beautiful photography of Pittsburgh and of the African American culture.
Now, it's kind of interesting because I think that at this point, everybody associates you with the collection. I mean, you're kind of the face of the collection, but this time you're also the curator of this exhibit.
Yes, I'm very, very proud and very excited to have been able to do this because, as you and I both know, we grew up knowing Teenie, and I started working with the Carnegie in 2006 as a volunteer, identifying my own photos and family photos and friends' photos. And then they hired me in 2009 and 2010 to prepare for our retrospective, which had a real broad base about Teenie Harris and his photography. Since then, we've had smaller shows. In that show, we had 1,000 images. And since then, we've had smaller shows that have about 25 to 40 images.
Okay.
This one has 31, and we've grouped them differently a little bit because we wanted to make something that looks kind of like his day.
A day.
Which
right.
starts
with
his family.
Okay.
Starts with his family.
So we're not starting with his at the beginning here.
Well, no, that's obviously the Courier Paper Boys,
Okay.
and we don't know who too many of them are. So if anybody knows who these guys are,
wow,
this was a Courier picnic, and so Teenie would stop by the Courier in the middle of the day and pick up assignments and maybe take some photos of the Courier staff or whatever's going on. He took some great shots of the offices. And so we have Mr. Nunn and Mr. Prattis and Jesse Van and Ira Van, all the editors, the great editors.
Now, is that in one of those group shots that you sent me with Frank Bolden in it? No.
Well, we do have that group shot with Frank Bolden and, let's see who else. Willa Mae Rice, Hazel Garland.
Okay.
George Barber, and of course Teenie himself is in the shot. This one here is the Crystal Barber Shop, which was one of Teenie's haunts and main stops during the day. And if you look through the door of the shop, you can see that the Crawford Grill is right across the street.
Oh my goodness, you're right.
And so we know that Teenie has a connection to both. His brother, Woogie William Harris, was owner of the Crystal Barber Shop, and he and Gus Greenlee were owners of the Crawford Grill. So Teenie would just lead his day, but he would catch great shots. That was the point of this. Teenie took assignments, much like when I watch you and you're on assignment, there's something going on, but people who are good at what they do always bring something different to it.
I was going to say, and you see things.
Exactly.
We can go ahead and take a look at the next photograph because I feel like I love this Sammy Davis.
Yeah, this is cool. I tried to use images that were different, not just your basic big star shots in a big venue. This is a small Flamingo Club shot. And so he's
Flamingo.
Yeah.
I only heard of it. I was never there.
We weren't there. But you know, it's such a cool shot because it shows you that Teenie would catch people doing things that other people didn't know about. They weren't advertised. So he was on the circuit in the evening doing a lot of shots for his best work maybe, which was the nightclub scene and the musicians and the entertainers, and of course the civil rights shots, and then just beautiful photography. Oh, And then there are the babies with the cakes. And, you know, there were a lot of babies with cakes, but I thought, you know what, this is how I started with the archive. I brought my baby pictures, this being one, to the archive, and why not use my own? I can give myself permission to use it, and I'm very proud of the fact that Teeny's preserved our personal history and our African-American Pittsburgh heritage, and just the story of African-Americans between the 30s and the 80s.
Which is interesting because while the faces may reflect Pittsburgh, the lifestyle and the times could be anywhere USA.
Absolutely. And he shot things, there's some of the images that I brought along that are also just some cars that were in Oakland by the university. There it is.
There it is.
But it's such a great shot.
So that's like Soldiers and Sailors is behind the cars?
Exactly. And then that one trunk open. So Teeny's kind of telling you what his story is about by the way he shot. And some of the people we've interviewed with the oral histories that are also included in this exhibition talk about how Teeny's photography actually changed some of the storylines. That, you know, sometimes people would be doing one story, but a photo like this of, yes, it's a fire, and it's, you know, it's sad to see the fire, but when you look at the content of the photo and you see the hoses and the old fire trucks and all the confusion and commotion.
So the Flamingo skating was a skating rink?
Yeah.
And where was that?
That's in the East Liberty area corridor.
Oh,
and but see, you can see that Teeny's above. He's standing on something and taking the shot. So he's getting all of what's happening during this shoot.
Right.
And so he's probably, this is, you know, not the days of pagers and cell phones.
Sure.
So he probably saw smoke.
I was going to say, looked up, saw the smoke, and followed
went over
it.
there.
Yeah, and followed it.
On the way to or from another assignment,
Somewhere
per se. He has some photos of a gorgeous set of elderly people on swings.
Oh, yeah, I did see that one. I don't want to run out of time. We got a minute left. So the exhibit opened last week. It runs until mid-September. Let's go through the logistics of how folks can see it.
Come to the Museum of Art and come to the lobby gallery and see Teeny, and you'll get a taste of kind of a summertime session with Teeny. It's beautiful, it's lightweight, but it's very impactful at the same time. And this leads into the International, the Carnegie International, which opens in October, and we're the Teeny Harris exhibition just prior to that. And there will be approximately 117 images that Teeny took in the international show. That's a first for us to have.
And it's going to be here in Pittsburgh?
Here in Pittsburgh at the Carnegie Museum
of Art. In
October.
So you'll have to come back.
We'll come back.
You'll have to come back into September 1st of October.
Okay, I'm going to bring your parents' wedding photos next time.
That'd be great. That'd be great. All right, thanks so much for joining us today.
For having
Can't wait
me.
to see the exhibit. It's exciting. We're going to take a commercial break. When we come back, I can and I will. What's that mean? You'll find out next when the Lynn Hayes Freeland Show continues.